Hello, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm answering all of your questions about our most recent December Disney trip. And I'm doing this one a little bit different. I thought it would be fun to do this vlog style, so a little more casual. So I hope you enjoy it. But over on Instagram, I put up a question box where you guys could submit a bunch of questions you had about our Disney trip. So I'm going to jump into the first question. Okay, let's start with the most asked question. This one was asked over a dozen times, and it is, did you like the length of your trip? Was it too short or too long? Okay, we were there for 8 nights and 9 days, including our 2 travel days. So we had 7 full days at Disney, and we did 5 full park days plus a water park morning. So we were there for a while, and typically we do, 3-night trips, 4-night trips, and that's kind of our sweet spot, especially with my toddler, Ellie Rose, to go for just a couple of days, and we'll pick 2 or 3 parks, and that's kind of it. And that kind of allows us to go more often. But on this trip, it just kind of worked out this way, where we had our first 4 nights off property at an Airbnb, and then the second 4 nights we moved on property to the Grand Floridian. So here's my thoughts on the length of time we were there. It was a long trip. It was a long time, I'll say it. I mean, the 8 nights, it was a lot, and we were really eager to be done and get home, especially with a toddler. And I think the toddler element of it is what made it feel longer. Her tolerance at the Disney parks started to kind of dwindle as the trip went on. So by day 5, especially day 6, I could tell that my toddler was just done, and her enthusiasm was kind of going down a little bit, and we really scaled back and did a lot of pool time, and we did the Blizzard Beach morning, and we did 2 hours at Magic Kingdom one day, and that was our entire park ticket, was just the 2 hours at Magic Kingdom, because our toddler was so done by the end of the trip. And so looking back on it now, I think if it had just been me and my husband, we could have had a more relaxing, obviously if you don't have your kids with you, it's a little more relaxing, and we probably could have done things very differently. But because we had our toddler, the trip just felt really long. So would I do 8 nights again? Probably not. I just think 8 nights was really pushing it for our almost 3-year-old. And I can't say that we, won't ever do a long trip in the future, like maybe when our daughter's a little bit older and is able to actually enjoy the, longer park days with us. But at least right now in this season, I think our sweet spot is 4 days, 5 days, maybe 6 days if it's a travel day kind of thing. But yeah, I think 5 nights is it's kind of our max where we're at right now. Okay, next question. Did staying off property and not getting early entry impact your park days or not really? So like I mentioned, the first 4 nights of our trip, we were off property. So we didn't have access to early entry. But I made sure to schedule our park days to where our first park day was Epcot, and I wasn't really disappointed about not having access to early entry. That was our first full park day after a long travel day. So I'd kind of already planned that we wouldn't be rushing out the door super early, and that I was really okay with us getting there at 9 a.m. when the park opened, and we just did a couple of walk-ons that you don't really need early entry for anyway, like Nemo and Figment, those rides for little ones, you just don't need early entry for those. And then our next park day was Magic Kingdom, and I had a breakfast reservation during early entry at that point anyway. So again, we wouldn't have been there for early entry even if we had been on property, because I had scheduled that breakfast reservation. The next park day that we were off property for was Animal Kingdom. Again, another one that I just wasn't really dying to get there super early for. There wasn't anything attraction-wise that I was really trying to rope drop or take advantage of. With a toddler, again, our goal for Animal Kingdom was just to enjoy being there, and if we caught one of the shows, great. If not, and in the end, we ended up doing a Daisy meet and greet walking around Dino Land, and then we did a Tusker House lunch reservation, and then we left. So that was our entire morning at Animal Kingdom. So all of that to say, not having access to early entry during our off-property stay, it really worked out great, and it really didn't bother me at all. Okay, next question. Blizzard Beach with a 20-month-old, worth it or hold out till she's older? So we did Blizzard Beach with our almost 3-year-old on our last full Disney day. And we spent about 3 hours at the park, and I think it was 100% worth it. Even though we were barely there for half the day, I still think it was worth it. And even if we had done this a year ago when my toddler was 22 months old at Disney, I still think she would have enjoyed it. I think it's a really great, break from the parks where, especially in the winter, there was no one there. So it was a little less overwhelming. It wasn't crowded. There was no one around. So it was a really nice break for my toddler, a break from the go busyness of the crowds and lines and all the things. So if you are able to factor in a Blizzard Beach morning, even if it is just for a few hours, I 100% think it's worth it. The new Tykes Peak area, how they've redone that to be Frozen themed, is so cute. And that's really where we spent all of our time. So obviously we weren't going on any of the big water slides. My husband and I weren't taking turns to go on anything else. We literally just stayed in Tykes Peak the entire time. That is all we paid for. And I still think it's worth it. So I know sometimes they have character meet and greets. They have a really great quick service location there. So there's lots of other stuff. In the winter time, they have a Santa meet and greet. So there's lots of stuff. Anyway, I think it's worth it. Do it if you can. I am a huge fan of Blizzard Beach. Okay, next question. Do you prefer to stay on or off property when it comes to having to go back to your room for nap time? And honestly, on this trip specifically, because we had our own vehicle, it really didn't make a difference the days that we were off property or on property. The drive time was exactly the same. Whether we were leaving the park and going back to the Airbnb or back to the Grand Floridian, it was still about a 10 to 15 minute drive no matter what. So again, it really didn't make a difference. Okay. The next question is Phantasmic Dining Deets. Would you choose Hollywood Brown Derby again? That's the one we're considering. So Hollywood Brown Derby is the most expensive dinner package for Phantasmic. I believe it's $72 or $75 per adult, and you get your choice of an appetizer or dessert plus an entree. So it's the most expensive. So you really have to love the Brown Derby in order to justify that price. So if you're already a fan of the Brown Derby and you know you love it, then do the dinner package. I mean, it's gonna be great. But if you're not on board with the Brown Derby, or maybe you've never tried it and you're not sure if you like it, I would do the dinner package, honestly, with either 50s primetime, sci-fi, even Mama Melrose is one of the cheaper ones. So take that into consideration, but I love the Brown Derby. It's one of my favorite restaurants at Disney. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us when it comes to the dinner package, but you definitely have to love it because the price tag is higher on that one. But I mean, I say do it. I'm a huge fan. Next question. 2-year-old sleeps in a crib at home, but too big for a pack and play. Any sleeping suggestions for her? That sounds exactly like my toddler. We have her in her crib here at home. We do have one of the sides taken off, so it's more of that toddler transition bed, but she's way too tall for a pack and play. So what we ended up doing, we actually asked for a pack and play when we got there and realized after one nap, yeah, there's no way, we can't squeeze her in this thing anymore. We felt too bad, so we used it one time and then it just sat in the corner. I could have had them come and get it, but we didn't use it again. So what I ended up doing was I used that pull down 5th sleeper bed at the Grand Floridian, and that is how we made it work. The first couple of days, it took her a little bit to settle in, but once she got the hang of it and realized like, oh, this is where I'm sleeping, this is what we're doing. And we called it her big girl bed and made it really exciting. And, and it's still small, so it still felt like the size of her little transition toddler bed at home. So it wasn't her sleeping in this like giant king bed or anything. But we did put her in a queen size bed or a double bed when we were at the Airbnb, and we put railings curtains up, but I stacked pillows on one side. So she still felt like, I don't know, kind of cocooned in there. So she wasn't just in this giant bed. That's what we did. And by the end of the trip, she would fall asleep during nap time in that little pull down bed in literally 10 seconds. Lights on, TV on. I don't know how. I mean, it's just Disney tired. It's a different kind of tired, but that's what worked for us. You just got to try it, and it might take a little bit of time for her to realize like, oh, this is what we're doing. But they'll catch on, and it worked out great for us. Okay. There were a couple questions about our split stay and how that transition went. What was the exact question? Any tips on a split stay for on and off property? How did the split stay work out? Okay. So I know I've mentioned this a couple of times now. So we did our first 4 nights off property and then our second 4 nights at the Grand Floridian. So our resort transfer day, well, it was really an off property to on property transfer day. We ended up checking out at 10 a.m. That was our Airbnb checkout time. And we packed up the car and went straight to the Grand Floridian. And I had a little swim bag for Ellie Rose. So once we got there, I changed her into her swimsuit and we hung out at the pool and we got lunch at the pool bar. That way we were right there in case our room was ready. And I was hoping for an early check-in. I let them know that we would get there around 10 a.m. And as soon as we checked in at the front gate around 10:30, I ended up getting my room text at 11. So I was talking to my friend Ashley about this and how there might be a connection. I don't have much like proof to back this up other than my own experience, but there might be a connection where if you actually are at the resort, like physically there, and they can see on your Magic Band that you're there, and maybe you have purchased a lunch or you've checked in at the front gate, something to where they have scanned your Magic Band and they know that you're at the resort, you are more likely to get that early check-in because they know you're there, as compared to somebody who is at the park all day and they won't be getting back to the resort until 10 p.m. They may not get their room text until later that night just because they aren't at the resort. Again, I have no proof to back up this theory, but Ashley and we were going back and forth about it, and I feel pretty confident that that's true because, again, 30 minutes after we scanned in at the front gate, we got our room text. And that has happened to me before where we were at Magic Kingdom. This was a time that we were checking in at Copper Creek. We were at Magic Kingdom all morning. I told them that we would be checking in at 10 a.m. And so we went to Magic Kingdom. Noon comes around, still no room text. 1 o'clock comes around, still no room text. And we decide, well, let's just go back to Wilderness Lodge and just, at least we're there, right? So we get back and we are hanging out at the splash pad. 30 minutes later, I get a room text. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if Disney saw, oh, they're at the resort now, they're ready for their room. So I don't know. Again, I have no concrete evidence to this theory, but if you are hoping for an early check-in, that would be my number one tip, is to actually get to your resort and just plan for a pool day or a resort day, shop, grab lunch, whatever, and just be there. And we went up to the room and we were in our room by noon for nap time, and it worked out great. So I have had a great experience with split stays. They always work out great for us. I don't know if that's just luck or if there really is something behind that, but that is my number one tip. So our split stay worked out great. And yeah, it was just a really chill day. Next question is taking a little one who takes 2 naps to Disney and needs both, not worth it, or wait. I think you could absolutely find a way to make it work. Maybe you guys are out the door early in the morning and you head to the park, and this would require you to be at a resort that does have very easy access to the parks. So Magic Kingdom, for instance, I would recommend being on a monorail resort. If that's going to be your game plan and you have to have those 2 naps during the day, I think there's no other way you could do it. You know what I mean? So you would have to be at one of those monorail resorts and you head to the park for, hour and a half, and then you come back for nap time. Or maybe you go to a breakfast reservation and then you come back for nap time. And then after that, you kind of do that same pattern over and over again, where you get back out and do something. Maybe it's the park, or maybe it's a lunch reservation or the pool, and then you're back for the afternoon nap, and then you can go back out again during the evening for either dinner or one ride or a show or something like that. So I think you would have to go into the trip knowing that your time would be very broken up if you are committed to being back in the room for those 2 naps. But it's absolutely possible. You would just have to really be intentional about how you plan out your day. I think you could totally do it and still have a really great time though. You would just have to know it's going to be a really different kind of trip, but still really, really special. So I think it's still doable. But if that sounds like, you know what, that's going to be so much money for so much time in the room, then wait, you know what I mean? But I think it's always so special to bring your little ones, no matter what stage they're in. Do whatever you have to do to make it work. I think it's worth it. All right, this next question. I'm about to share the tea with you guys. So, how hard is it to come back to Magic Kingdom after an off-site break? Is parking more difficult? So, we do not park at the TTC. We have done it once before, and we will never do it again. So here's what we do. We will actually, on our Magic Kingdom days, I make sure to have a breakfast reservation at a monorail resort. So on this past trip, we had a breakfast at Steakhouse 71, and we walk over to Magic Kingdom. Because I know that we are leaving for nap time, I know that we are not leaving our car there all day. So it doesn't feel like I'm breaking any rules or a huge risk or anything, because we're just there for 3.5 hours before we leave and go get our car. So it still feels like we are within that window of, being able to park our car there for dining, and then we will come back for dinner. And on this past trip, I made a dinner reservation at the Grand Floridian. So after our 5:30 dinner, we walked over from the Grand Floridian to Magic Kingdom for our fireworks dessert party at 8 o'clock. And then we walked back to the car by 9 o'clock. So again, we were never leaving our car there all day long. We just parked it there for a few hours, and then we would come back, and that was pretty much it. So that is how we avoid the TTC when we are staying off property. I will do pretty much whatever it takes to not park at the TTC. It's just my worst nightmare. There's no other way to say it. Especially at the end of the night after the fireworks, whether you go the monorail route or the ferry route, you are waiting in a very long line, and it could take you over an hour just to get out of the park and get to your car. So we really like having a dining reservation to where we can park our car at the Contemporary or the Grand Floridian or the Polynesian, and then we can just walk right over or take a quick boat over. Same thing, we've done that at Wilderness Lodge, where we do dinner at the Whispering Canyon, and then you can just take the boat right over. Again, I make sure that we're not ever just leaving our car there all day long. I don't know if I would ever risk that. But because I know that we leave midday for nap time, I just make sure that we have that breakfast reservation and dinner reservation. So there's my secret. That's how we do it. That's how we avoid the TTC. Next question. Did you stay in DVC Villas at Grand Floridian? If so, how was it? Would you stay again? Yes, so we were in one of the original DVC Deluxe studios in the Villas building, and I love it. So we weren't in one of the newer resort studios, but I personally love the original Deluxe studios. I love the split bathrooms. I mean, of course, I'm dying to stay in one of the resort studios too. Those just look unbelievable and beautiful, and just, that's about as good as it gets. But I love the Deluxe studios, and I like that you have your dedicated building with your dedicated, driveway where you have your own bell services and kind of check-in area. So I really like that. I'm gonna do a full review on the Grand Floridian. I can't believe I haven't done that yet. This was actually our second time staying in the Villas building at the Grand Floridian, so I knew that I loved it, and I will absolutely stay there again. Okay, these next two questions are about budgeting. So this first one is, how do you budget for all of your Disney trips? And then the second question was someone wanting to know how much we spent in total on our Disney trip. So how do we budget for our trips? So I actually have a custom budget template that I use, and I'll actually have it linked down below if you want to download it over on Etsy. It's seriously unbelievable. I won't go into all of the intricacies of why it's so amazing. I actually have a full tutorial video if you want to check that out as well. I'll try to have that linked down below too. But it's seriously incredible. So this really gives us a foundation to budget for our trips, and it really helps me and my husband be on the same page. I think it's really easy to go into these kind of trips, especially a big trip, and have a certain number in mind, and then you come home and it's totally different than what you originally thought it was gonna be. And so I think that's why having this budget template, it really thinks of everything, and all you have to do is plug in all the numbers. It factors in tax for you. It'll help you think through every single meal on its own dining tab. I mean, tickets, special events, resort, I mean, literally everything. So that's how we budget for our trips, and I just reuse it every single trip. So I just delete everything, and then when we're ready to plan a new trip, I will re-input everything into the template. So that's how we do it. And then when it comes to the total that we spent on this trip, I have all of the big numbers. I just need to total it up. I wanna say tickets, 2 adult tickets, non-park hopper, 5-day ticket, just a base ticket. I wanna say we spent just under $1,200. It was like $1,197 or something like that after tax for a 5-day ticket for 2 adults. And then our Airbnb was actually covered by the host. So this was actually a partnership that I did with the owner. So that was not part of our budget. And then we moved over to the Grand Floridian, and I did pay a little bit more to rent DVC points here than I normally would have, just because it's Christmas time, it's the Grand Floridian, everything is priced a little bit higher this time of year. So for 4 nights in a standard view studio, we paid $23.80. So again, a little bit higher than what I normally would pay for something like that, but it was Christmas time and that was our only resort cost. And then for food, we just totaled out everything this morning actually, and including parking for our off-property portion of our stay, Genie Plus, dining, gas, I mean, literally everything else, souvenirs, like anything extra, we spent right around $2,400. So those were our 3 big costs. So the $2,400, $2,380, and then the, like, let's just say $1,200 for a 5-day ticket. So those were our 3 like giant chunks of cost when it comes to this Disney trip. So that is how much we spent on this Disney trip. All right, I'm gonna end it there. I hear my toddler waking up from her nap, so I need to go grab her. But thank you guys so much for watching. And if your question did not get answered, shoot me a DM over on Instagram and I would love to chat with you. So thank you guys again, and make sure that you are subscribed for these trip vlogs. I have day 2 coming out on Monday. So definitely stick around for that and give this video a thumbs up. Or if you have any other questions, leave them down below in the comments below and I can definitely answer them there. So thank you guys again, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.